You've seen those NASA satellite images. A massive blue lake, shrinking, 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 until it's gone. Most people assume it was climate change. A slow, natural evaporation. It wasn't. The Aral Sea didn't dry up. It was murdered. Soviet planners knew exactly what would happen. They did it anyway. One engineer said it out loud in 1964. The lake was doomed. Nobody dared challenge the 5-year plan. And when the water left, it exposed something buried on an island in the middle of the lake. A secret Soviet lab, testing weaponized anthrax and smallpox. This is the story of a sea that was sacrificed for cotton, and the poison it left behind. Imagine standing in Moynak, Uzbekistan, 1960. The sea stretches to the horizon, 68,000 square kilometers of water, the 4th largest lake on Earth, bigger than all the Great Lakes combined. The canning factory runs day and night. 22 million cans of fish per year, 30,000 people employed. Fishing boats go out every morning and come back heavy. The sea breeze makes summers bearable. Children swim along the shoreline. The air smells like salt and fresh catch. Over 1,100 islands dot the surface. The Kazakh people name this place Aral, the word for island. A sea of islands, 2 great rivers feed it. The Amu Darya from the south, the Sur Darya from the east. They've been flowing here for thousands of years. Stable, dependable, like a heartbeat. But someone in Moscow had a different plan for those rivers. Here's the part that changes everything. In the 1950s, Nikita Khrushchev launched the Virgin Lands campaign. The idea was simple. The deserts of Central Asia were empty. Cotton was valuable. What if you turned the desert into cotton fields? You'd need water, a lot of water. The Amu Darya and Sur Darya were right there, flowing into a lake, wasted, in the planner's view. So they built canals. The Karakum Canal alone stretched 1,375 kilometers. One of the biggest irrigation projects in human history. The rivers were rerouted. The water that once fed the Aral Sea now fed cotton. And the planners knew. They weren't ignorant. They weren't careless. In 1964, an engineer named Alexander Asarain at the Hydro Project Institute looked at the numbers and understood. The lake was doomed. His quote haunts me. It was part of the 5-year plans, approved by the Council of Ministers and the Politburo. Nobody on a lower level would dare to say a word contradicting those plans, even if it was the fate of the Aral Sea. Some Soviet officials went further. They said it openly. The Aral Sea must die as a worthy sacrifice for the greater good of the cotton harvest, a worthy sacrifice. By 1988, Uzbekistan was the world's largest cotton exporter. 7 million hectares of cotton, and the price was a sea. The water dropped 20 centimeters a year in the 1960s. Then 60 centimeters in the 70s. Then 80 centimeters in the 80s. During dry years, no river water reached the sea at all. In 1987, the Aral Sea split in 2, north and south, like a body breaking apart. Surface area, down 40%. Volume, down 60%. Salinity soared to 376 grams per liter. The fish died. All of them. And Moynak? The harbor dried up. The boat sat on sand. The canning factory closed. 30,000 jobs gone. If you go to Moynak today, you'll find the ship graveyard. Rusting fishing trawlers sitting in the desert. The nearest water is 150 kilometers away. You can still find seashells in the sand beneath the boats. The crunchy white topsoil? That's salt. And crushed shells. the floor of a sea that used to be here. People travel from around the world to see it. Tourism in a place where fishermen once made a living. Sound familiar? Think about that for a second. But the water leaving was only the beginning. Every year, 100 million tons of salt, sand, and toxic dust blow from the exposed seabed. The dust is laced with DDT, hexachlorocyclohexane, toxaphene, phospholone, all carcinogens, decades of pesticide runoff from the cotton fields, now dried, airborne, and blowing into people's lungs. Dust storms that once struck every 5 years now hit 10 times annually. The dust has been detected as far as the Arctic and the Pacific. The ethnic Karakalpak people, 1.8 million of them, live in the epicenter. Cancer rates, 50 to 60% higher than normal. Esophageal cancer, 25 times the world average. Maternal mortality, 120 per 10,000 births. Child mortality, 75 per 1,000. The wind that once carried sea breeze now carries poison. And then there's the island, Vazrajdeniya Island. The name means rebirth. From 1948 to 1992, it housed Aral Sea 7, a top-secret Soviet bioweapons facility. At its peak, 1,500 people lived in the town of Kantebek. Schools, a stadium, a social club, all while scientists tested weaponized anthrax, smallpox, plague, brucellosis, and tularemia. In 1971, weaponized smallpox accidentally escaped, 10 people infected, 3 dead. When the Soviets evacuated in 1992, they hastily buried tons of anthrax spores. Not properly, not safely. Just buried. Then the water kept receding. By 2001, the island wasn't an island anymore. The sea had retreated so far that a land bridge connected it to the mainland. Anyone could walk there. The anthrax containers had started leaking. In 2002, the U.S. funded an emergency decontamination mission. The island, named Rebirth, became a peninsula of death. 68,000 square kilometers, the 4th largest lake on Earth, fed by 2 rivers for thousands of years. Then someone decided to grow cotton in a desert. In Moynak, the ships are still there, resting in the sand, seashells crunching underfoot. Tourists come to take photographs of what happens when a sea dies. But 800 kilometers north, in the part they chose to save, fish are jumping, boats are on the water, families are back, one half of a sea, brought back from the dead. The other half, a sacrifice they called worthy. What would you call it? What sacrifice are we making right now? Knowingly, deliberately, with the numbers right in front of us, that someone in 2060 will stand in the ruins of and ask the same question. Think about that, because the same logic that killed the Aral Sea, sacrificed the environment for this year's profit, suppress the warnings, and let the next generation deal with the consequences. That logic didn't die with the Soviet Union. It's still running, right now, under a different flag. And speaking of absurd Cold War decisions, in 1989, the same Soviet Union that drained a sea to grow cotton did something even stranger. They paid an American soda company with 17 submarines and 3 warships. The CEO of Pepsi called the National Security Advisor and said, "We're disarming the Soviet Union faster than you are." It sounds like a joke. It wasn't.